Orcas. Often known as killer whales, they stalk the oceans of the world, living up to their infamous name. They hunt in groups and use language to communicate. With their high intelligence, they leave a trail of terror in their wake. Now, it's they and not their prey who are threatened. Wildlife cameraman David Reicnert is determined to get intimately close to this mighty predator in its natural environment, to understand firsthand the relationship between the orca and its prey. In the southern Indian Ocean, midway between the coast of South Africa and the Antarctic, lie the Crozet Islands. This French archipelago sits smack in the middle of the roaring 40s, westerly winds that pack a real punch. Here, it rains 310 days a year. Winds in excess of 60 miles an hour for much of the year make human life unbearable. The wind brings rain, snow, and hail. On the Crozet Islands, you can experience all 4 seasons in less than a day. September marks the beginning of spring in the southern hemisphere, but there's never a good time to venture into this region. Some people do. This longline fishing boat is after a catch that can only be found in these waters, Patagonian toothfish. They were only discovered at the turn of the last century. Today, they fetch high prices on dinner tables in Asia and America, where they're more commonly known as Chilean sea bass. Other hunters prize the toothfish, like the giant of the dolphin family, the orca. David Reichert is passionate about orcas and intrigued by their behavior.
Like all the fish around here, the toothfish swim too deep for whales and dolphins. But the amazing thing is the orcas are such opportunists that they've adapted to the presence of long-line boats in the area. They've discovered an easy way to feed. They only have to wait for the lines to be pulled up. Unfortunately, a lot of pirate longliners are out there. They're illegal and try to force the orcas to keep their distance by throwing dynamite at them. So the orcas have become rather cautious towards human beings, even though they haven't given up on the easy pickings. Scientists have produced alarming figures. 50% of the orcas in the region have disappeared in the last decade. It's a wanton and secret slaughter by men without scruples.
David boarded one of the few legal longliners to get to the islands and study the behavior of this threatened mammal in its natural environment. As a specialist in filming marine mammals, David stops at nothing to get close to his subjects. But what he's about to do has never been attempted before. Filming underwater, close to boats that present a threat to the orcas. How nervous will they be of his presence if private fishermen have struck in the past? A young female approaches, naturally inquisitive. Her mother instantly recalls her. In orca society, the young don't need to be told twice. The orcas are certainly avoiding David. He'll have to wait until he gets to the Crozet Islands for another encounter. That's where the orcas are heading, because their traditional prey in the area are not toothfish, but elephant seals. Every spring, elephant seals must return to dry land to mate and give birth after hunting at sea in the Antarctic. Over thousands of years, orcas have perfected peculiar techniques to catch seals.
I wonder how far the presence of the long-line boats has altered the orcas' culture from generation to generation. Has it changed their feeding habits? What impact has the slaughter really had? Has the elephant seal population grown as the number of orcas declined?
To find out, David will spend 4 hard months alongside these animals in conditions where life is a daily struggle for survival.
Here, animals are safe from man. They shouldn't be afraid of people. It's the perfect place to study their world and understand the close links that unite predator and prey. I've arrived just in time. The elephant seals have begun to return.
This 15-foot male seal has spent 10 months at sea gorging on fish and squid in the Antarctic. He swum thousands of miles to get here, and now, hauling 4 tons of blubber onto dry land, only one thing is on his mind: sex. Enter a female, but she's not here to mate, rather to give birth to a pup she conceived on the island last year. For the male, she's an irresistible image of Aphrodite.
To reproduce, males must establish a harem and become the dominant male. The only way to do that, throw your weight around and impose yourself on other males. The male is 6 or 7 times heavier than the female, and to show he means business, he bites her viciously. How affectionate. The dominant male must keep his trophies away from prying rivals. This potential rival is already calculating the odds. The role of dominant male is highly coveted, and on this beach, there's only room for one. Conflict is inevitable. Another female arrives. Distracted by the advances of 2 males, she doesn't see the danger until too late. Her long journey is over. She'll never give birth to her pup. Hunting this way shows how the orcas have adapted to life around these islands. Fish are rare and inaccessible, so they must hunt marine mammals. The rest of the family has been alerted to the catch. Allowing the others to join the kill is a form of initiation, especially for the young. To survive, you must learn, and the transmission of knowledge is an essential part of orca culture. This might seem cruel, but it shows the extent to which orcas are social animals and how far they go to protect each other. The fatal blow is delivered by a young female.
Skuas and other scavenging birds pluck raw protein straight from the sea. Home away from home. The wooden crate contains everything David needs for his own survival until the longliner returns in 4 months. rescue has confirmed David's suspicions. Animals on the Crozet Islands have never been threatened by man. They've no reason to be aggressive, but every reason to be curious. This is the price David must pay to secure a front row seat to study how orcas and their prey interact. Within a few days, the dominant male elephant seal succeeds in pressing large numbers of female into his harem. The problem now is to keep the peace. It's time for a nap. Others never seem to rest. There's always a chance a fat seal may be napping close to the edge. A large male orca with its typical 6-foot triangular dorsal fin is followed by 2 females with their smaller curved fins. Orcas live in a matriarchal society. The dominant female leads a group comprised of her sisters, daughters, and other youngsters, but never couples. Reproduction only takes place between separate groups.
The matriarch is very imposing, over 20 feet long. I know orcas have never been known to attack humans, but what if she really is eyeing me for her next meal?
The group moves off peacefully to the south of the island. David's close encounter with the orca on land reminds him of something that happened on this beach in 1988. Amateur footage of the drama, seen around the world, showed an inexperienced orca becoming beached while hunting. But scientists were on hand to help it back into the water. The female's release was a joy to behold for both the scientists and the orcas, a very lucky escape.
I wonder if the female I encountered along the shore could be the same one the scientist saved. I felt threatened, but she may only have wanted to make contact. What do I really represent to these super predators? It's a question that dogs me.
This male seal knows only too well what he represents for the orcas. He recently barely escaped becoming a meal. Ironically, seals are more vulnerable on land than they are at sea. They dive to depths of over 4,000 feet, far deeper than any orca. In the shallows, their thick layer of blubber offer a tempting feast of protein. No wonder orcas risk beaching and hunting this way. But even close to shore, the elephant seal is no pushover. A young orca strays from the group and finds itself face to face with a powerful opponent. The orca hazards a closer inspection. The seal holds its ground. No point in being too brave. It was a good lesson for the youngster. Next time, it'll stay with the group where there's strength in numbers.
This male is staking out his territory, even though it hasn't found a single mate. Hey, watch it! Whoa, okay, calm down. Loneliness is obviously getting to him. It's time for me to explore the island. I've decided to cross the little volcano to the other side, where I've noticed the orcas disappear to a number of times. What is it that attracts them down there? This is the perfect spot for me. The rocky bottom leaves the water clear, and for once the sea is calm. What a treat in this turbulent part of the world.
It's now obvious to David what the orcas are after on this side of the island. A sloping beach shelters a colony of king penguins in their tens of thousands. For the orcas, the beach represents a well-stocked larder all year round. Adult penguins surround chicks born last year. They'll keep their warm, woolly coats for about 9 months. When they grow real feathers and strong muscles, they'll take to the sea to feed themselves. They wait patiently for their parents to return with food. There are plenty of distractions to kill time.
They seem to have adopted me, probably because they're hungry. Raising the young takes almost a year and requires great devotion from the parents. Mothers and fathers are away for 10 days. They swim hundreds of miles to their hunting grounds and dive 1,500 feet to find fish and shellfish. Once they've filled their crop, they return to their young, picking them out from the crowd by listening for their call.
King penguins take to the sea together for protection. This is an opportunity for orcas to refine their coordinated hunting techniques. First, they observe complete silence. The hunters don't want to sow panic among the penguins. Then, moments before the attack, they emit discrete clicks to signal their position to each other. When the trap is set, the matriarch sounds the signal. Catching a penguin demands a lot of energy for little in return, but they haven't much choice if there's nothing else to hunt. In summer, when the seals are abundant, hunting penguins is good practice for the leaner winter months. For the penguins who manage to break through enemy lines to fish for their chicks, the return journey proves equally perilous. Finally, starving chicks are rewarded for their patience.
September draws to a close. The dominant male now has more than 100 females in his harem. This record number probably has something to do with the fact that there are fewer orcas around. But orcas keep piling on the pressure. And for good reason. Female seals are about to give birth to tender pups. Skuas and giant petrels feast on the placenta. And anxious mothers make sure the placenta is all they get. The first exchange of cries between mother and baby are vital. Along with their odor, this allows them to identify each other in the colony.
With its eyes barely open, baby seals feed off the richest milk of any mammal in the world. It contains 10 times more fat and calories than cow's milk. Pups put on 4 times their weight in only 3 weeks. After that, mother's job is done. The dominant male tires of herding ever more females into his harem. Not only must he watch over them, but he must fertilize them too. This earthly paradise comes with a price: starvation. The dominant male stops eating for the entire reproductive season. He sheds 30 pounds every day for 2.5 months, surviving on his winter reserves, the 10 months spent feeding in Antarctica. Single males lie in wait for the slightest opportunity. The presence of so many females stimulates their own desire to perpetuate their genes. The dominant male cries foul. His bulbous nose amplifies the protest. The larger the nose, the greater the show of virility. It's a rude instrument of dissuasion for the legions of young pretenders. Seeing one intruder off only lets another into the harem. What a never-ending battle to stay on top. And DNA studies show the dominant male is far from being the father of all the pups. The hormonal urge to mate leads to outright war. Winner takes all in a clash between titans.
When you get this close to these giants, you can feel how much energy goes into their drive to pass on their genes. It's a symbol of resistance to the extreme conditions of the place. A real fight for life. I'm determined to experience the same kind of intense contact with the orcas. I'm going back to the clear waters on the other side. I recognize the matriarch by her imposing size, and I see in the fullness of her attention towards me great experience and certainly a knowledge of man. Is she again the one who was saved by the scientists? I like to imagine she is. I wish this moment would last forever. I must find out more about her and her pod.
Once again, the orcas treat David with caution. The orcas developed a complex culture because they live so long. Males live for about 50 years. Females can survive into their 80s, which explains why their society is matriarchal. Females have more experience. These mammals are such efficient killers, they only need to spend 10% of their time hunting. Otherwise, they rest, play, and educate the young, a process that can last 20 years. Touching, caressing, and talking maintains harmony. Scientists now know that orcas from the same region share a common language, and even more amazing, every individual clan has its own dialect. Frustrated on land, David decides it's time for a dip. He hopes to meet orcas in their own territory, behind this bed of giant kelp. Orcas never venture into these underwater forests. Solid stalks rise 120 feet from the bottom and could become a lethal trap for the orcas. Beyond the forest, the matriarch sneaks up on David. Her clicks signal her position to the others waiting in the shadows. The matriarch is simply checking the visitor out. Once again, the encounter is fleeting. Caution and mistrust seem to rein in the orcas. The appearance of penguins means the orcas must have retreated to a safe distance. For David, their grace and agility are well worth staying underwater for a little longer.
Well, well, looks like I've got a visitor. The single male has been well and truly defeated by the dominant male. Perhaps next year he'll have more luck. Even the strongest seals don't become dominant until they're at least 8 years old, and even then for no more than 2 years running. The battle to dominate exhausts them too much. He may not look aggressive, but he's still potentially dangerous. There's no way I can get into my tent tonight. What a beautiful day for a change. It does wonders for my mood. Baby elephant seals pass their first days close to the warm bellies of their mothers. What momentary bliss. The atmosphere on the beach is positively festive. Orcas also take advantage of the peace and quiet to sleep. But the way they sleep is most unusual. So they don't drown, evolution has blessed them with an extraordinary trait. Only half their brain sleeps at one time. They literally nap with one eye open.
No sooner has the sun come out than spring is on the back burner again. The roaring 40s return with a vengeance. Wisely, the orcas move away from shore.
I wonder how the newborn elephant seals are coping with the weather. The pups keep on suckling as though nothing was wrong. It is really picking up. I'd better seek some shelter. Filming in these conditions leaves me paralyzed with cold. Without the tent, I'd be finished. Suddenly, I feel very alone, very different from the animals. I'm fragile and vulnerable. The storm turns the beach into another world, or the end of the world. There seems no limit to the power of the elements on the Crozet Islands. I've spent the night terrified by the thought my tent would blow away.
By mid-October, the first female elephant seals to have arrived from the Antarctic are now ready to return. After nursing their pups for 3 weeks, they're pregnant again and will give birth here in a year's time. This one is ready to leave, but her pup isn't. Abandonment before weaning seems cruel, but there's a good reason. Mother no longer has the reserves to continue producing milk, though she might return after putting on weight. But time is not on her side. She's exhausted and vulnerable. Orcas share the spoils of hunting. Solidarity within the group is a cardinal virtue. The pup, too, is a victim. How will it survive without its mother? Unlike penguin chicks that can count on both parents for food, baby seals depend solely on their mothers. Weak and skinny, the orphan barely has a chance, even against a bird. It must find another mother. The door is closed. Female seals cannot afford to feed two pups at once. And other pups also insist on exclusive rights to their mothers.
I'm heartbroken to see firsthand the tragedy of this pup's life. But there's nothing I can do to help. It's been attacked and rejected by its own species, a victim of the cruel laws of natural selection. It will never know the taste of fish, and never become a dominant male to father offspring on this island at the end of the world.
Mid-November, and the harem dissolves like snow in the sun. The dominant male rouses himself one last time to perform his duty. Babies are now fully weaned and independent. The young stick together and discover the joys of infancy. They've begun to molt. Black at birth, their fur has turned light gray. But the new coats itch terribly. David can't resist lending a hand. After all, they've been neighbors for nearly 4 months.
I know, it's not very scientific of me, but I just can't resist these furry little bodies. My excuse is that they, and not I, made the first move into my camp. I'm really excited by their willingness to let me into their lives. The seals really have accepted me. What an honor. The confidence they show in me and the games they share are the simplest and most important forms of communication. Moments like this take me back to my own childhood.
By December, hunger forces the young seals into troubled waters. Their first tentative steps are harmless enough, but unlike young orcas, they can't rely on adult protection and education to survive. some, the baptism will be ruthlessly short. Orcas must fatten up for the winter ahead, when measly penguins will be all that's left on the menu, unless they brave the dynamite to steal toothfish from the longliners. David must catch the young seals in the water for the first time before they too migrate to the Antarctic.
I was looking for him, but in the end, he found me. Is he admiring me or mocking me for needing this ridiculous suit to enter his world? But who's to say we can't be friends? If only he would stay. Why is he leaving? Will he be back?
The answer is in black and white.
Is she hoping to catch my seal friend? A male approaches me for the first time. He's nearly 30 feet long and weighs more than 8 tons, a living juggernaut. Then the matriarch returns. This time, I'm sure it's to make real contact. I feel naked and completely defenseless. The orcas know it too, and I'm counting on their wisdom now. We are communicating. I don't know how exactly, but it's pretty intense. In this open, smiling face, I realize we have both exercised our mutual fears. Call it intuition, but I'm now positive this female is the one saved from the beach long ago. She's become head of the clan and wants to know more about me before exposing the others to potential danger. Today, she knows I come in peace. No words can express the emotion I feel in such a sublime moment of contact. The orcas we sometimes call killer whales may be, in their own way, trying to thank us for saving one of their own. I'm reassured to see how the orcas of the Crozet Islands are preserving their ancient ways, for now at least, in spite of the longliners. Given their experience at the hands of the pirates, their initial reaction to me was to be cautious. How can you blame them when faced with such a destructive species as humankind? Even when their future is threatened by us, they show just how discriminating they are. They opened the door of their kingdom to me. On an island where life hangs in the balance every moment, wild animals accept my presence. They give up some of their secrets and embrace me with full confidence. This extraordinary encounter has changed me forever.